Yep. All right. So recording should have started. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody. This will be a fun class, I hope, for March. Part of a 2202A session. I'm Professor Otwell. I'll be the guide for you guys during this particular session for this class. This is going to be about spreadsheet applications, or IT254. They made some major changes to this class here recently. So seems like we have 43 people, I believe, in this class now signed up. And actually a pretty decent number to participating in the morning. So the irony is I've had my best luck at this time slot too for getting people to participate. Therefore, so a little bit about how this class is going to work. Each week we'll be doing a briefing slide package here. Would be part of the live chat. That package will be downloadable later. We'll go through agenda, go through expectations, what's going on in the syllabus, what some of the material for the class itself, going over some of the assignments, answering any questions you guys have, etc. So a little bit about myself is I've been working in the computer industry, mostly DoD side, since basically 91. When I was doing my internships at Sun Microsystems for the Java development team. Since then, I've worked in a variety of different military systems over my course. I've also been a student with CTU. I had my bachelor's degree at CTU, my master's degree at CTU, and I'm currently getting my doctorates with CTU. So my classes that I've taught, you can see how many times I've taught various classes for the year since 2017 when I picked up adjunct professor role as a side thing, because my me teaching it'll pay for my daughter's education as well as my doctorate that way. So I've taught a variety of classes. The vast majority of these I taught are typically in person because I live in Aurora, only about 10 minutes or so drive from the Aurora campus for CTU. But yeah, so I've been here around myself. The introductory bit, we'll go ahead and just if you could make sure you put that into your first week's discussion board. I need to remember to change that later, but yeah, I just like to have an idea where you're going, what it is you're doing. Other than yep, the primary focus of this class will be based on IntelliPath. We'll have, if you need to get in touch with me, I'm typically available in the evenings. During the day, my phone is not always on, but I am often easily accessible in email during evenings and mornings. This will be the time, typically on a Monday, that we will use for our live chats. So please let me know what your goals are, and I will help you to achieve as best as I can where you're going. So that's please make sure you put that into the discussion board. Our course objective is going to be all about how spreadsheets work in the world, how they matter to systems, how people use those to make decisions for businesses and for personal use, how to solve problems, right? The primary Excel spreadsheet system used in the world is Excel. It is used by businesses all over the world to make decisions on a daily basis. It is highly customizable, can do thousands of things. We're going to just scratch the surface on what Excel can do and how it can be integrated with other systems and how it can be used for solving mathematical problems. But there's a lot of different things. There's a website link here that'll give you additional reading material to be used in addition to your normal course workbook that you'll be getting. I believe you guys should have got that through electronically. This additional website has some Q&A things. It's got a video or two in it, and it has some explanation on how various topics of this class is about, right? Occasionally, depending on how much material I may have, I may or may not run the video during class, but I'm not going to do that today. So looking at your stuff, like I said, they made some major changes to this class recently. So up until this particular quarter or session, this class was a combination of discussion board and telepath and individual projects. Those individual projects were done in Excel, and we've been, as we've learned in university, they've through some focus studies, that because a lot of students nowadays use cell phones or Chromebooks or tablets to do their homework for various classes, that the Excel itself is not capable of being run on any of those particular platforms. So they've dropped the requirement of the individual project, though I can certainly give you some idea how to do that kind of work if you want to better understand Excel outside of just IntelliPath itself. So, but as far as the grades go, the overall grade, 78% of your overall grade is going to be decided upon how you perform within IntelliPath. So with that in mind, yeah, like I said, there were some changes done to the system because the previous versions of this class required the full version of Microsoft Office Excel in order to actually execute the program in order to do the individual projects. But with those changes, these are things now that's been removed as of this session as a component of this class. You don't necessarily need to worry about these limitations anymore. So each week, one of the things I'd like to go through is if anybody has questions especially from like last material, or so things that can drive discussion. So if anyone has a question at this point, go ahead and ask it so far, or I'll keep on going. Okay. All right. Remember, discussion boards will be posted. Make sure you make your initial post by Friday. The follow-up post will be on Tuesday. This is an easy portion of trying to get the original, get your grades up there, because it is worth about 20% of your grade overall, and it's an easy part to do. Even as myself as a doctoral student, I basically go in there, do my primary post, find two others, just respond to it at the same time, get my entire discussion board done for the week within like 15 minutes. So it's easy to get that done. The IntelliPath is really where you're going to spend an awful lot of your time at in this class. Hanging chat. So if in any of the presentations I give or in questions, feel free to email me those questions if you want, or message me them. CTU Messenger is fine. I will check that occasionally. And if there's things that I left, basically hanging chads are my inability to execute or complete the description or explanation of it in previous cases, right? So if there's things that I felt like I didn't do a good enough job and you bring it to my attention, I will bring it up in the next class to readdress and give a better answer for it. So week 1, unit 1 is all about Excel environment, the data organization, data entry, what are cells, how are cells used, and ultimately the most commonly used function within Excel, which is the sum function. Sum is basically the accumulative addition of a range of cells from like A1 through A15 or whatever, or B1 to B25. Each week, I'll use this as part of an example. This is being an example, but we use this kind of thing to give you an idea how many assignments are left in this class, right? So those that are in blue are those that are behind. Those that I modify, you'll see it's like this. Yellow are those that I'm still accepting for grading as late, but green would be in the ones that do this week, and gray is what's due next week. So taking that to this particular class, this week you have a discussion board and a IntelliPath unit 1 and For those who either participate in the live chat here actively, like you will today, you'll get 15 points of extra credit for every time you attend these. Or if you don't attend them, but you send me a summary posting of in a Word document or something, or a text file about what the class discussion was about in this class, I will go ahead and award those extra credit points you for in the end, extra credit points for you in the end. Ultimately, those 5 live chats and or extra credit stuff is worth a full letter grade improvement over time, cumulatively. So it's certainly nothing to ignore if in the future. Typical late policy is if it's 1 to 7 days, it'll be 10 points off the assignment, unless you let me know ahead of time as to reasons or needs for why you may or may not be able to participate, right? So that the official policy was posted in the announcements form, but it'll be at most 10% off. I'm pretty forgiving on this stuff as long as I know anything that's going on. Just also a reminder that mandatory, at least for the on-prem classes, that I have to remind people that they have to participate in during the first 2 weeks in order to have Title IV financial aid be applied. So, in case that matters. I don't know how requirement that is for an online class, but nobody's ever bothered answering the question. All right, so each of these weeks, I will also upload into the learning materials the copy of this briefing package, so you can download it and use it as a PDF as well. Yeah. So everything that you guys see on the screen during these live chats, you will also be able to download that at a later date. The first week's discussion board, as well as additional link from the Muse White site dedicated to this particular week, is going to be going over chapters 1, 2, and Appendix A. It's some basic questions about it, but I would suggest at least bringing up and go through that website in accordance with doing the discussion board work itself. All right, up to this point, has there been any questions from anybody that would like to ask to the group or myself? Okay. All right. So spreadsheets have been around for a lot longer than some people seem to realize. They actually go back to the early days of accounting being done in ledgers that were manually done for businesses for years or decades or even centuries before it was produced in a computer spreadsheet. In spreadsheets, the first computerized ledger was produced called VisiCalc. It was produced on IBM and Apple. Later on, Lotus 123 took it over. Lotus 123 or Lotus Notes finally died, more or less, like maybe 5 years ago after all these years. Excel became the primary one. It's been used as the main business productivity application now for over 30 years, and generally is necessary. Well, I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it is certainly very advantageous to use it in most businesses in order to do analysis on data. Nowadays, they're producing more evolved things for like data warehousing and analytics, big data analytics that have evolved past what just spreadsheets can do. But in general, it is you can basically run an entire business off spreadsheets and be able to be very productive. There's different types of data that you can do in their spreadsheets. That can be label based or text based, where you can have any combination cells, numbers, symbols. It can also be values, which are actual numerically be the dollar values or date values, or just numbers in general. Formulas can also be used, which take various cells and combine them with some kind of manner. Like the sum would be where you take two cells and you add them together. You say equal sum cell 1 plus cell 2 parenthetical. So that would give you the sum, the addition of those two cells. There's other ones like average. There's sum. There's you can use mathematics of not just the plus. You can use the times key or the asterisk to do multiplication, right? You can do division. inside of all that. So in a lot of ways, you can pretty much do just about all the way up to like discrete calculus if you know how to pull off those formulas, which I won't be able to help you in that context, but it can be done in lots of different ways. So there are a number of basic groups going across here. These are the default groupings in Excel: file, home, insert, page layout. Those are just tabs within Excel. They change the ribbon here, so you have different access to different functions within Excel. This is the worksheet name. This is the workbook name. This is the cell, specific cell. In this case, this is a A1. B3 would be this one here. Along those lines, I'll give you some kind of concept of this, right? So essentially, a workbook is a collection of one or more spreadsheets. In order to do that, you can you just basically click this little plus button up here, and you can start having multiple spreadsheets going across that. I've had ones at work that exceeded more than 200 tabs at times, actually several times. And I'm not even the most fluent one that I know in my office who has to use spreadsheets. And some people out there get ridiculous with what they can do. So anyways, you can do things like colorize it, you can format it. There's every formula starts with an equal sign as its first character before you use the command or the thing. So it's equal, average, 1 plus 6 makes the results in 7, or 1 of 6 is 3.5. This is an addition. This is between two cells. This is an average of a range of cells. So if you have a bunch of different numbers across like a lot of different things, say you had a bunch of sums from take a standard budget, right? You put your budget, how much it costs for rent, how much it costs for car, how much it costs for insurance, and then you put that into a spreadsheet. These are your values going down. On the next one over, you put the numbers in. You can put a equal sum of the above, and then you can do that by month, and you can say average how much your expenses are per month. There's a lot of different ways to use it for a lot of different possibilities, right? So, but every formula starts with an equal sign. If you start typing something with a dash, that has a different context than a formula, but it also is a character that also makes a different type of activity. Everything else is pretty much just standard text at that point, or numerical at that point. The most commonly used functions within Excel is sum and average, and I would say probably count A, because the count A will average the number of cells not including blank cells. Sum A gives you sums all the way across. If you get a pound value error with sum, it's because one of the cells you tried to sum was not numerical. Same thing works in a lot of different ways. So if you see those types of errors, you can always go back. But these are the list of what, according to the textbook, these are the most commonly used formulas you can find. I will tell you sum, count A, and probably average are the far most useful ones that I've seen thus far. These are examples where various common error messages can occur. Usually you'll get a pound reference because you deleted something out of a range that was providing a reference to another cell. So if you get this, it's because you deleted something you shouldn't have deleted at the time. I guess I need to move this over here so it's more in my eyesight. The question about closed caption, somebody actually asked me to turn it on when we started our thing, so that's why it's running at the bottom. Yeah. I don't even know how you turn it on by default. I just had to hit yes or no on it. So I don't use Zoom every day. I use Teams when I'm at work, so they behave differently. All right, another one. The pound name is usually a reference failure or a misunderstanding of something trying to be used in a formula. VLOOKUP is also another popular thing. This allows you to make one spreadsheet become, or one worksheet to become just a data list of for like a whole bunch of different data that you can have all correlating across there. So if you have like ID, name, first name, title, these are all relative in one big row. So you can build yourself a database this way, going across, and then VLOOKUP lets you go to this other cell or the other worksheet to do VLOOKUPs based on something you want to look for, and this entire set of data as a source, and it will come back to see if it finds matches, and if so, what the match is or where the match is. VLOOKUP does it vertically, HLOOKUP does it horizontally. So this is a link here if you ever want to be able to figure out how to make VLOOKUP works. But that's basically so you can say extract a bunch of data from something that collects things like say an export from some accounting tool, or if you needed to get like sensor data from or medical data from some kind of a medical instrument that's producing sensor data on something, you could extract that sensor data, put it into a Excel spreadsheet based on a number of pieces of organization from say a database layout, and then you can then build tools to look up information about that fairly rapidly. So are spreadsheets mainly used by accountants? I would say they're commonly used by accountants, but it is also because it's primarily in financial, but really it's engineers who use Excels the most in order to make businesses be able to be productive. Management uses it for understanding business objectives or business analytics. Engineers use it to solve problems and to figure out designs and architecture. Teachers use Excel for grade books and for keeping track of classes and comparative analysis of students, so they can figure out where limitations are and where difficulties are within particular assignments. But nowadays, big data analytics have actually evolved past Excel and has gone into a better understanding of how to analyze things at a non-numerical level. And you'll find lots of dissertations that actually do nowadays in the doctoral stuff that uses the big data analytics instead of Excel for analyzing information. It is highly powerful tool, especially for businesses, because it's highly customizable and can be used in a way that is best tuned for what a business needs. So it's a good way to organize data, analyze data, set it up so that you can understand what you're doing, how you're producing, how you're selling, how you're making effective stuff, right? So you can track how your business is going. It can also be used as a database, or it can be used collecting information between multiple databases as a means to be a collector. Because one of the things Excel can do is not just store the data; it can use other sources of data and pull data from to update what it needs in order to build its own formulas. So it can also be the intermediary glue that makes information work together, which is why it's also kind of nice in a lot of ways. So, okay. There's lots of differences and lots of different ways spreadsheet gets used. There's also some commonality in ways spreadsheet get used, but ultimately how it's put together in the end is that it's usually based around numbers and how to analyze numbers and how to sort things in a manner that makes sense, right? So I'll give you an example here at the end of this. You can copy, formatting, data, etc. All those are different things, and you can actually take format, and they have a painting button, right? There's a little paintbrush that lets you apply formatting from one to another. So if you colorize certain cells or use conditional formatting on certain cells so that it auto colorizes based on a range, or say it's everything greater than 50 is blue and everything less than 50 is red, you could do that kind of thing. And you can set up the automatic logic in there, and then say apply it to some range of cells, and then it will automatically start colorizing your stuff for you as you go. And in other cases, if you want to do format painter, you can highlight a cell a different color, so you can make all your title bars be let's go back here. So in this case, title bars here are made green with white text, and if you wanted to, you could do a format to anywhere you want with that same kind of layout, right? So I'll give you just a quick example of that. Formatting options can be used for all kinds of different things. It can be also different types of data, how data is used. It can be for data entry. You can actually even set it up so you use forms inside there to be like front end, much like you do filling out a HTTP website. form where you have different cells you have to fill in for pieces of data, like you're entering your login data or your accounting, or not accounting, but credit card information into something. You can even do that kind of stuff within Excel. It has the ability to set up front end uh, interactive questionnaire sites. So for that kind of purpose. So you can add context to everything you're doing, and as well as then allows you to build a database of sorts of all the data entries, so you can have an ongoing list within another workbook that keeps on getting added to every time somebody enters new data through the front end form. So when within Excel, when you try to print something, you have to basically select the range of cells you want to be printable. Otherwise, you'll end up printing pages and pages of stuff that you generally don't want. So you have to be careful about setting it up so that if you want to, you have to just give you an example of that physically here real quick. Change my sharing. Okay. I assume you can see this now. All right. So if I had, this was based on the old setup, but if I wanted to change formatting, right, I could say I can make this yellow by filling in yellow. I can make it bold. If I wanted to format painter it, which is this little icon here, I can go like that. That's an example. If I needed to set up for printing, I could go range, page layout, print area, set print area. So now in this case, when I print it, only these cells get printed to it, or I can save as a PDF if I wanted to. Instead of everything here being done by default, right? So if I wanted even smaller range, I would say change set range, or I can clear range and it goes back to everything. So that's another example of how that can be done. You can actually do portrait, landscape. You can even set it up with headers up here. So if you need to put like business name here, do that and it'll jump out on every page with that same header. It'll automatically add those. So that's stuff you can do with in random pieces, right? So all right, quick example of that. Jump back to this. Okay. But yeah, different types of data that can be entered into a spreadsheet. It can be text, numerical formulas, and they can be treated differently. And you can actually even set it up for okay. You can even hide data. You can hide cells, you can hide ranges, you can even hide entire workbooks if you need to, or worksheets if you need to within a workbook. So you can hide it as need be, make it so others people don't visualize it. Or if you did select it like a range like I did, if it's hidden, it doesn't get copied. So you can filter out various things you need to ahead of time. So, and like typical, everything inside a Word, F1 is basically the default of how to do the default for how to do help key. All right, so just to give you a quick thing, like here's an that's annoying. Here's a one way I'm using Excel spreadsheet for my own usage here, right? Is in here, I have this kind of set up as a formula for account if, so that everything in this type that meets that criteria, I can filter based on a name here. So just show me everything that's listed as a book. This is a list of bibliography references for writing. So here's all the books. Up here is telling me I have 22 books. And when they meet certain criteria inside of here as a range, say I just want to look at all of the less than 5 years old, then that tells me this is the 9 that I have here within this range that met that original criteria going across, as an example of a usage, right? And then over here, these are just yes, no. These are not formatted, but they are conditional formatting. So if I go to my manage rules here, over in column A, based on the value of yes, no, I've get it automatically defined coloration and text of that, so I can, in fact, I'll just edit this just because I can. We'll make it purple with yellow text. Well, because I didn't apply it to the whole thing, it only changed to one cell. But that's very easy to this will give you an idea of how some of this gets done, right? So if I want to do that, I highlight the entire range automatically and go to the right place. Conditional formatting.
Excuse me, sir. I need to leave for work, so will I still be getting credit for being on Zoom now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And how do you want to be addressed? Professor Otwell, Mr. Otwell, Christopher, how should I address you?
Professor Otwell is fine.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Otwell. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for attending. All right, so that gives you a quick example of this. At this point, we've hit our 30 minutes anyways. So is there any questions anybody would like to go over at this point? If not, then I think this was successful, and feel free to email me with follow-up questions at a later date, and I hope to see you guys do successfully inside of IntelliPath. Thanks.